You are listening to Party Nerds Weekly.
What's going on, people? We are back once again to talk about a multitude of things, but we got to get this out of the way. Loki season 2 just dropped, and there's a lot out there within these first little 47 minutes. We have some of our esteemed guests, Ralphie, Haas, Jorge. Thanks for everybody coming out to the Party Nerds podcast, the only place where you get the real. And no, we will always not agree, but we will always entertain.
That's right.
Word. So, all these questions that are out there, because at the end of the day, because this is pretty much initially might be the beginning. There was a lot of speculation of how this season of Loki was going to start, especially due to the fact that Jonathan Majors' legal issues are now pretty much behind us at this point. So much so that when the first frame of Loki was like, man, I wonder how much Jonathan Majors is going to be in this season. Boom, statue is still fucking there of Jonathan Majors. So Kang is still ever present in the modern day MCU. Thank God for fucking that. So first episode out of the way. Where we at with this?
Man, let's just go ahead and just say it definitely was a good episode. It was definitely a good episode. It was definitely a good way to kind of, I guess, go into the new phase for what Marvel has. Kind of just piggyback what you just said. It was good to see Kang's face. So it's nice to know, all right, we have a story that we're sticking to. It's actually, if I don't know if anybody else kind of felt a little bit like how it did in the past, where it was like, all right, we're in some type of storyline that we're going to get to someplace. It's going to be obviously to a bigger story, and I'm excited. Like it just gave me the excitement of we're back, and I'm a little bit more involved than I was with the recent Disney Marvel shows and stuff like that. Like you can tell, like the energy is definitely there with Loki.
Yeah. Now, Hans, you're a little bit ahead of us because you got to see episodes 1 and 2.
Yeah, got to see both. It was like I said in our group chat, like it's definitely so the show is like a slow burn. It's gonna gradually, it seems like it's just gonna gradually get way more interesting. The Miss Minutes not tailing off, and Renslayer's gone, and through the season we're gonna try to figure out like what are their actual roles in this, because it's more than just a variant of Kang, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those two are highly involved, and through each episode it just seems like it's just going to take us to a place where either one or both Renslayer and Miss Minutes, I feel like something dark or gruesome is involved. So
Okay.
First 2 episodes are really good. The only thing I would say is for people looking for hoping that's like really, really action packed, like it kind of is, but not so much. That's what I'm saying. If you're interested in the story, and the story's great,
mm-hmm.
we got like a couple more original characters from that wasn't part of season 1, which are these characters are very, very interesting. So people are going to I already know people are going to take a liking to one particular character, and you just gotta appreciate this buildup, because I feel like we're gonna find something very extreme, which is gonna be for the overall MCU. Like it's gonna play a major part.
I think so. Yeah, and to be honestly, not to backtrack, but if we go to the end of episode 6, of course, none of this would have happened without the killing of He Who Remains, which was the first Kang variant we ever seen by Sylvie. And notably, the initial beginning of this first episode was starting off from the fact that Sylvie had kicked Loki through that little time vortex,
right?
Unknowingly, she kicked him back in time. Back in time.
Yeah.
So because the initial TVA that he now coexists in is in the past. The past, so far in the past, that the timekeepers are no longer existent, and basically Kang is still running the TVA. So that's why there's still statues of him out there. There's still basically just these homage ass fucking tapestries that are made of him throughout like the offices and everything like that. But what we came to find out at the end of those latter episodes in season 1 was that everybody's mind has been wiped, and yeah, minds were wiped clean. And so Morbius basically always saying that time runs a little bit differently around here proves to be not true by the introduction of the new character that we see at episode 1, Ouroboros, or OB as you may call him. Ki Hai Kwan is pretty much now like the tell-all person, because he's the person that he's responsible for the TVA's instruction manuals. So he knows every single piece of the TVA. And for some reason, unbeknownst to anybody else, when Morbius meets him for the first time, or anybody of that fact, nobody seems to know who he is, or better yet, how to even like coexist with him. So he's talking to them like, man, I haven't seen you in a long time. And he's like, yeah. What's it been? Like, yeah, buddy, 3, 4. And he's like, 400 years. So like, he's not really picking up what he's putting down. So I'm thinking, and no, this is like a theory that's been going on out there, that OB is the only person in the TVA, because he was the person that's responsible to keep everything running. He was the only person that did not get his mind wiped. And no, he's been downstairs working the entire time. Yeah. So all the things that he's been responsible for as far as the TVA is concerned has been of his doing. And he does not sleep. So he was saying that he hasn't seen Morbius in 300 to 400 years. He might have been in the TVA since the beginning, which might have been even longer than that.
Right.
So that's what I come to find out.
He's kept in the basement.
Yeah, but he is trapped in the basement. He never comes up. And no, people don't even have to go down to him, because if you saw one of the rooms before you go down to the elevator that goes to OB's office, there's these little like dumbwaiter tubes where people like send shit to him. You don't even have to go down there and see him. Like, people just drop work down there to him, and he's pretty much finding out. Yeah. But Loki, on the other hand, when he's within the first 20 minutes, you come to find out that because of the fact that he got sent back in time, he now is suffering something sort of similar to what Miles Morales suffers through in both his movies. Yeah. So Miles Morales suffers from time glitches, and basically Loki is suffering from time slipping. It's two separate things. All right. So when Miles does it, he bounces from multiverse to multiverse, basically dimension to dimension. So where Loki does it, he's just going from past to present in the same type of run. So this is me putting my Doctor Who hat on and everything like that to basically get my time travel on, to understanding the fact that when Loki does it, you know, he's now beneficial in finding out exactly what the initial instances of the TVA used to be. And basically all the plot points that were put forward as to why the TVA is what it is, and why Kang instructionally put people in certain places in order for this shit to run correctly. One being Renslayer, probably Miss Minutes being his Jarvis, and maybe even OB. Because if OB creates the instructional time, like the instructional guides of how the TVA works, who's to say that he wasn't along for the ride too?
Right.
So when you come to see this character of Ki Hai Kwan as Ouroboros, what was your first thoughts, Ralphie?
Well, one, just when I saw the actor, I already got excited.
Man.
I was just,
it's Data. It's short run.
Yeah, it was just. I was like, yeah, he's here. But for me, like I said, just kind of grasping the episode, and like again, I had to watch it twice to kind of get an understanding. I found his character very interesting, as well as I feel like he's going to be playing such an important and detrimental role into all of this. Just for the simple aspect of him being able to remember kind of right on the spot. So if you were watching the first episode where he was slipping into the past and he was building I forget whatever the machine that he was, but then being able to remember in the present as well too, when he would slip right back, just tells me everything, I guess, how important his character will be, because with the whole Kang variant and all that types of stuff, we'll be able to paint a diagram much larger than what we're anticipating.
It's true. And even in the sense of the word Haas, when you come to find out that there's basically now a instead of the timekeepers and Renslayer, there is a judges council of basically hardcore ass TVA members who are pretty much now at odds because they're not understanding that they've all been mind wiped, that they're all variants, and they'll do anything at this point to get the TVA back up and running the way it used to be. So that's what it seems like about to happen, because now everybody is pointing their fingers at Sylvie for the destruction of the TVA as it is, with the branches basically being ruined. So what is the overall game plan going for these like diehard loyalists of the TVA?
Oh, well, it's well, it was brought up that if I remember right. No. I'm not even gonna get into that because nobody's that far yet. So I'm gonna go a different route and just say the loyalists that's to the TVA. I just think they just don't believe. They still can't get over, even with proof, they can't get over that this has happened with all of them, that they're actually just variants, and they got their lives taken from the company TVA, pretty much the slave over that. So I think the ones that are, as we're going to see, trying to keep what the TVA was doing and keep that going, because we're getting, when you get to episode 2, you're going to get into a conflict of where, like, they're going to be talking about like pruning and all kinds of stuff, knowing like it's pruning is not exactly what they thought it was. So there's going to be like, we're all going to see how like a group of TVA employees are just still sticking to the script, like they haven't turned over yet, like they don't So that's the thing. So that's going to be a conflict throughout the season 2, is that group of TVA members that are just trying to, because they all know it's wrong. Brought their attention that it's wrong, like all this is wrong, right? I think that was like
technical difficulties.
Oh shit! But Ralph,
I wanted to basically. Yeah, I wanted to say it again. I didn't get the opportunity to see the second episode like that yet. But like it's kind of like watching when, let's just say, like a faith just kind of breaks down altogether, right? Like, you know, you start to crumble. You get to watch all these TVA members like kind of just like battle within themselves. Like, I guess who was like the one person that just didn't want to believe it, and you know, she was like trying to just be like, hey, you're gonna be, you're okay, you're TVA. Like, it's just, you're gonna definitely get a whole lot of like personal battles, and at least to understand different, I guess, members, I feel like you'll get to see with the different TVA. But it's just understanding how quickly either it can deteriorate and how things can then, like I said, formulate to understand how powerful Kang is or what Kang is capable of doing, or
do they even know who Kang is? Like,
exactly.
Like the thing is with them, they're looking at the timekeeper's head on the top of their desk, and they're realizing they're thinking that their leaders are gone, or not essentially that their leaders were fake, but that they have no one to lead them. Renslayer's not there, the timekeepers aren't there. There's nobody guiding them. Like Loki even like takes into the fact that they're little like fucking Skytel sky pagers and everything. He was like, yo, Miss Minutes is spying on us at every single second. Put that motherfucking shit down. Like, at the end of the day, like, they have to come to the realization everybody's like going through the motions at the TVA, thinking that everything's pretty much going to be normal. A lot of them are going through their portals now, probably still pruning folks. What was it? Hunter B5 or whatever the hell her name is. The one girl from Lovecraft Country. When she was basically like letting them know, be like, yo, we've actually been devastating people's lives. Every single focus of the multiverse, every variant that's out there that we've pruned, we've basically been bringing them all down to one single person. And that's not essentially a good thing, because it makes it easier for Kang to take over a property if people are getting pruned left and right. That's mainly Kang's operative here. If he is to control timelines, he has to wipe out certain people from the timelines in order for him to take it over properly. That's why he sends in the TVA. So if Renslayer's been playing this secondhand fiddle thing with him the entire time, bolstering this plan amongst a certain group of people in order to take out a certain group of people within a bunch of branches of the timeline, it makes it a whole lot easier for Kang to just come in and wipe everything out.
Right.
You know, in a sense. Haas, you disagree?
No, it's too early into the season to disagree with that. With your point. So I'm not going to disagree with that right now. Give me more information, and then possibly I'll disagree with you later. But right now, we're in the base of this show, or this season in the show, right? So just you gotta pay attention to the clues. So I feel like people should like rewatch the episode once or twice.
I watched it like 5.
Yeah. I'm gonna rewatch it a lot because I'm trying to. I like being in the know.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no idea where this is going right now. Like nothing. And I like being in the know, and I feel like I might have missed certain clues that can help me prepare for what's going on.
Believe so.
Right. And I know there's little nuggets out there I have to rewatch and do that. But that's what I'm saying. That's how good the show is because in the first 2 episodes it's paced in a way where they're gonna try to lead us to something but we're not gonna get there. You get what I'm saying? Like it's gonna try to lead, and I don't think we're gonna get there no time soon. So I felt leaving the first 2 episodes like with way more questions I had before the season started. So it's like a mind fuck of a show, and I like it.
Well, it turns out that episode 1 of season 2 is the second most viewed season premiere on Disney Plus this year with 10.9 million views after 3 days.
As it should.
The only redeeming the only top getter was Mandalorian season 2.
Okay. That's good.
So it's right there.
Yeah.
So it comes to prove a fact that MCU still has some ownership in the game when it comes to some of these Disney Plus shows, although they do them so much that they probably have to eliminate 3/4 of them and have shows like Loki. Loki is no longer in the beneficial MCU. So like he's no longer even a plot point in any of the MCU movies. But the thing is, he's now holding like a key piece going into phase 5 to where people are like us are not understanding the multiverse for what it is, but it all revolves around one place and one person. And Loki is trying to find it out and basically tell the audience exactly what that is. If anybody's going to get any type of information about what the multiversal saga is, or the release of a bunch of Kang variants because one of them has initially passed away or has been killed, and if they're all on their way, how does this play out? And the thing is, I think they're utilizing Loki as like the storyteller in this. It's like, I'm just going to bring you to certain places in this show to show you exactly where this is going. I mean, I know Secret Wars can be another thing. Deadpool can be another thing. They talk about the TVA being a certain portion of Deadpool 3 because he fucked with the timeline when he was fucking with the watch at the end of the post-credit scene. Also true. You know what I'm saying? There's certain things that we haven't seen yet, like Secret Wars being a certain thing where they're basically saying, okay, the current use of the Avengers that are out there might lose to Kang, and then they're just going to pull the secret Avengers out, which are basically some of the older characters from like the Fox universe, to try and resolve all this shit, and then everybody bands together in one big fucking unit. Maybe that's also a theory, but these are the ways. How do we get here? How do we get to these certain points? How do we get the stories to start fitting? Because initially with phase 4, a lot of these storylines, a lot of these plot lines just didn't fucking fit. Like, you don't know where they're going. So like the next movie that we got coming up is Marvels, which comes out next month. And that's supposed to be a follow-up to Secret Invasion. But are they going to even utilize any type of know-how from Secret Invasion? We don't know. But with Loki, at least we can point ourselves into certain informative plot lines.
Like, how much of a sequel, like a continuance of Secret Invasion, will the Marvels be? Like, obviously it's the connection with Captain Marvel from the movie or whatever, right? So you understand that, but like, me to even visualize like how it's going to be, like how Secret Invasion is going to play into the Marvels, and it's like I feel like it's not that big. Like, that's just my opinion. I just feel like it's not going to be that big of a plot point as they're making it out to be. I think they're just saying. I think they're really just like, because it's the Skrulls and it's the Marvels. They're just like, oh yeah, it's continues of Secret Invasion. Nick Fury. Yeah. That's what I think. That's where the extent of that.
But because we're talking about, there was like initial sections or initial sectors of the Skrulls, not only the ones that were sitting there on Earth, but there were like rogue portions of them. And since they're following up the battle with the Kree, and most of the Krees got destroyed by Captain Marvel, they're just like utilizing this as somewhat of a sequel for both.
Yeah. Huh.
You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I mean, going back to Loki, you know, we have this character. The initial introduction of Ouroboros, and we talked about him briefly. But the thing is, do we hold him as somebody that we might find to be an ally, or do we hold him as somebody that we need to be suspicious about?
That's a good question, I guess, to put out there, because at first I would obviously grant him as an ally, because you're simply trying to help. He's simply trying to help somebody that's, I guess, in a unique crisis, you know, with the whole time slipping. But then, as you kind of just brought up that question, you know, how is his loyalty then to Kang? Because, you know, what is his mindset of when he became, you know, a part of the TVA? Granted, he's been down in the basement for, again, 400 years. I haven't seen somebody. You know, what does he not know? You know, what does he maybe... Exactly. You know, so much has revolved around upstairs that, you know, his mind would just kind of already tunnel vision, like, no, like, this is not what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be with Kang. He told us to do this. We're gonna stick to this, you know. And again, everybody else who probably tried to maybe question it, or go, boom, your mind is erased. But meanwhile, Kang's completely forgot about this person's probably all the way in the basement, and like I said, he could be probably like the one that kind of messes things up as well too. We don't know. Yeah. And I can't sit there and be like full faith, like, yeah, he's an ally.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if he is a person that has not been his mind, has had his mind wiped, he knows exactly who Kang is, or better yet, maybe even a variant of himself. If he knows who He Who Remains is, like that portion of the variant and everything like that, there has to be certain people that were around during that certain bit of time when he still was taking reins over the TVA. Renslayer being one of them just doesn't seem like it holds that true. If somebody was basically in charge of diagnostics every single 300 to 400 years, which he said, you know what I'm saying? Miss Minutes runs the entire thing, and I do diagnostics every 300 to 400 years. So he's like almost like a fail safe. Yeah. It's like, if Miss Minutes ever disappears or something ever happens, they got me. And I'm I'm like Windows 96, 97. I'm the update every single one. I'm iOS 15.7. I'm going to do this update. I'm going to do this update. He's keeping everything fucking fresh. That's why, you know, when he came to the realization, he was quirky up until a certain point. And then when he finally told him why the lights were flickering, he like jumped into action. It was like, yeah, fuck all that. Let's go. Like basically, let's jump out here. He was like, something's wrong with the timeline. He was like, I didn't know the timelines were branching out. And then he pulled out the instructional booklet, and he was like, well, I wrote it. He was like, it's literally right here. Nobody fucking reads the thing. It's on every single desk in here. And he throws that shit back to Loki. He was like, go ahead and read it. He was like, I wrote the thing. So like every single outlet, how the TVA runs instructionally, manually, diagnostically, without Miss Minutes, is all his doing. If he's the initial architect of how this shit basically comes to be, who's to say that when they go back in time and find Victor Timely, which is basically a Kang variant anyway, that there's a chance that there's a meetup between them two? You know, if there's another smart person out there that basically Kang might have like just initially tied himself to, and they created this thing together. Renslayer is basically a love interest. He needed somebody to be a general over the TVA and make sure that the pruning of certain timelines happen efficiently and often. With Ouroboros, it was like, if I keep him down here and just keep him away from sight, I wiped everybody's minds. Nobody even knows how to get down here. And if they do, they probably don't even know who Old Boy is. But essentially, at the end of the day, with him, I got somebody that can just run this shit if I'm not here.
Well, hey, I mean, he's definitely an ally. It would be pretty. I mean, it'd be a pretty cool twist if he wasn't. But
yeah,
I think he's just too pure of a soul on that show. Like he's really oblivious to everything, that not to what's going on with like you said, like when he didn't know the timelines were reaching, he got into action. Like, yeah, that's what he does. Like he knows everything technically, that how to run the TVA or whatever, right? But as far as like, he didn't, like, nobody comes to see him, so he doesn't know what's going on with like the interactions. He doesn't know like, oh, Renslayer has her own agenda.
Yeah, he probably doesn't even know timelines are being pruned.
Exactly. So he doesn't know that, right? So you'll see, I think in the next episode, like we'll start to get to know him a little bit better, a little bit too. So that's a good thing too. So I think people are going to get an opportunity to get to know him a little better, and I think, and through those episodes, I just really think he's really is an ally, and I don't think there's an evil like bone in his body. Like,
not even to say that. Maybe he's just naive. Maybe he's been naive for however long he's been down there.
It's possible.
Like he probably never thought that, you know, the TVA would turn into a place where they would prune timelines, disturb branches to keep everything safe, and just sat there not knowing what the fuck was going on.
Yeah. That's possible.
Now, can I ask you, because you've seen episode 2, is it an origin story for OB?
No. I don't want to lead you to that. I just think you get to see more of his like his personality and his and just his knowledge of the TVA. Like, I think you get to see that. So you get to understand why his character is why he has that type of energy around him on how he acts and everything. Why nice, and yeah, he doesn't really joke. He's just because as you see, he's just always moving. Like,
right,
he's always moving. He doesn't sleep. He's like he's
okay. So I ask you this:
he's just wired.
Is he real?
That's a great question. Because he says he doesn't sleep.
Yeah, he doesn't sleep.
It's definitely possible. So that is a great theory. Yeah, because he doesn't sleep, and I don't know what you do where you don't.
400 years.
At least 400. So it's at least 400 years because
that's when he met Morbius the last time. So he's been there longer than that.
Him. So there's no telling if he wrote the instruction manual of the TVA, then he was there from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
There's no telling. He could be a droid. He literally could be a droid. He could be a droid. Kang goes through time. We know that. Like, he could be his present in the future, what we would consider the future. He can travel to the past. He can travel to what we call the present.
Yeah.
So telling what kind of technology he came across, because he just acquires everything, and hence the Conqueror. So yeah, he could have easily brought that droid from the future. If we say OB's a droid right now, he could have definitely brought placed him in the TVA, so he has a system in place, like you said, that help run the TVA. So not a bad theory. I'm actually with you on that shit. It's pretty dope.
and then this is the thing.
You gotta you go that long with like try going 3 days without sleeping.
No, I'm blasting everybody.
All right, you gotta sleep. There's no way. So yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. So like almost initially, like you come to find out that also in this same breath, you know, when Renslayer found out that she had a variant herself, it's almost to the point where she felt like she got tricked.
Right.
Mhm.
So initially, even in this aspect where now everybody that is seeing the fact that they have variants is paranoid. But the people who have not and are still going along with the plan are still out there now to get Sylvie. And when we get down to this, like this next period, there was that post-credit scene after episode 1. Also, which was basically Sylvie, after she got done at the end of time after killing He Who Remains, she ends up in a certain place in comic book history, Broxton, Oklahoma. Does anybody know what that is in comics, in Marvel history? All right, so Thor, well, not Thor, Love and Thunder. After Ragnarok, the destruction of Asgard, they had to create New Asgard. Well, New Asgard was in Broxton, Oklahoma, to begin with.
Yeah.
It wasn't in no place in Norway or anything like that. So the places where you saw this was pretty much in Dark Reign, where Norman Osborn just pretty much said that there's gods basically on some hilltop in the middle of like of Oklahoma, and they think that they can rule over us. And this was the beginning of the Dark Avengers period. This was basically the place where Thor had would escape to if he ever needed to get away. He would go to this specific spot, but she ends up going there to this particular place to go work at a Mickey D's. Well, it looks like a Mickey D's from the 80s because I saw the tree going in and I was like, wait, that is a 1980s McDonald's. If I ever seen one, where is the Hamburglar outside that you can sit on, because he was a table, and the Ronald McDonald that sat there with his leg up, you know, on the bench and everything like that. And she just wants to be happy. So she felt like killing He Who Remains was going to initial some type of reaction in her to where she felt like the world was going to be a utopia now that he's gone. And that's not necessarily the case, because Loki was trying to tell her that. She was like, what if you kill him and it doesn't end? What if it gets worse? And this is where we're at, because at the end of the day, the conclusion or events that happened after episode 6 of Loki started the whole thing. The whole thing. Everybody was pretty much trapped until a certain point in time. So if we're looking at it, because we always talk about like timeline fittings in the MCU, where we're looking at like where does everything fit. If we initialize from this state of and point, they talk about like when He Who Remains was stabbed, you know, what was it? No Way Home was happening. Like that part around the what was it? Around the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
Where the rest of Spider-Man's villains were about to enter the multiverse all at the same time until they stopped it.
Right.
Like they felt like certain portions of just little events that started to happen around the MCU were starting to happen during that same time frame. So this might be the case also in Ant-Man. Pretty much that post-credit scene where they felt like it was okay because he's dead now, but it was it were they talking about Kang being dead now, or were they talking about He Who Remains is now gone?
Yo,
You're just glad it wasn't you.
Yeah, that's all a great point too, because I never even thought about that. Because in Ant-Man,
He didn't die. Nobody.
yeah, that variant in Kang obviously was menacing. So traditionally, at the end of that post-credit scene, we're thinking, oh, since he's off the map, we can go ahead and do the thing. But to your point, they might definitely be talking about He Who Remains, because he's the one that kept the timelines in check as much.
Yeah.
It seems like he was the one that was doing that, not anyone from the Council of Kings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could be just talking about He Who Remains and not the villain from Ant-Man.
Right, because Ramatut basically said after it happened, he was like, "Oh, you just so glad it wasn't you that killed him," because they were all saying that a version of Kang put them all there.
Right.
Didn't necessarily say it was that one. It could have been this one. And then also when that happened, he was like, "Who? Well, how many of them did you get?" I called everybody. I got everybody. We're getting out of here.
It has to be He Who Remains.
That's what I was thinking the whole time. When you
Because-
watch Quantumania and they're talking about that post-credit scene, what is making me believe that it's the person that just supposedly perished? Like
Right.
he just basically got he had a yellow jacket scene. He got smaller and smaller and smaller, and there was no body.
Right. I don't know, man. I think you're right, because I don't think it's any reason. First of all, he was the one that was casted off, right? So him being off, like, and him dying, he was already casted off. So him dying doesn't really make a difference. It was He Who Remains that makes the difference.
Right, because He Who Remains was the one that basically was the one to hold everybody in check. He defeated them all in order to keep the timeline at one single motion.
Yeah, you cracked the code, bro. It's him. It's him.
It has to be him.
It's 100% sure.
Because there's even that one part where he was explaining, I guess, where it was like, yeah, if you just you knocking me down. I guess he was using the pieces or something like that. And then he was like, yeah, if you knock me down, then who knows what could essentially happen. It just kind of like, when you were watching that episode, you didn't really understand it, and kind of what you just said, like, yeah, you killed him, and then the one person who just kind of just got out and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, that was the gatekeeper essentially.
Yeah.
He played chess with every single one of the other Kang variants. He won in the chess until Loki came into the mix, and boom, here you go.
It has to be.
Yeah, I'm convinced. Like, I'm not even. It's not even one of those. It's like, yeah, 99% and then 1% not. Like, it's 100. Like, I'm pretty convinced.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, Marvel's pretty good at this. I mean, not to say that like Phase 4 was what it was, but they're pretty good at this, at hiding things in plain sight.
Right.
And when you're looking at a function to where they're saying, okay, I'm just going to create multiple beings or different versions of the same character. And if I was to kill two of them, who are you to tell me who started everything? So, like, if I'm talking about a certain plot point, I can show you a post-credit scene after somebody supposedly dies, and you'd be like, well, since he died, everybody's getting out. But there was another one in a whole nother episode of a whole nother show that also perished, and that we saw the body and did die. And basically, he told you, if you kill me, everybody's going to get released. And he told you when he was dying, see you soon.
Right.
Everybody's coming. So we're not sure what type of versions of Kang we're going to see out there. We're going to get a whole nother version in this season of Loki. So within these 6 episodes, we're going to get Victor Timely, who is the like well, in the MCU's version, he's like the forebearer of all of his technology. What Kang decided to turn to be, Victor Timely was the initial starter. He was the Thomas Edison of Kangs that started to put shit together. In the comics, he's merely like a version of Kang. Like, he's Kang, but he goes back in time, like to certain points in like the 1930s and the 1950s. If he's ever defeated, not that he's killed, and it'll be like, all right, I'm gonna just fix all this shit again. So when shit goes back to the timeline to what it currently is, I know not to fuck up the next time. It's not gonna happen because I initially started the chain of events from a certain period of time so that I would be stronger when this shit falls through again. That's what Victor Timely used to be. It's still Kang. It's not like this past Kang that they're going to create in the MCU. It's like it's Kang, taking the uniform off, throwing on some 1930s fucking zoot suit, and starts working in some type of business center to make sure that the chain of events start in a right fashion at the same time in a sequence that only he knows again. But that's how he does it. You know, that's how he did it in the comics. You know, in the comics, if he ever got defeated, he was like, all right, cool. Y'all got that. Yeah, he was like, y'all got that one. I'm going to go back in time and I'm going to do this shit over again. And I'm going to get it right this time. That's how I win. So he just goes back to certain points and starts fixing everything again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. I'm
Gonna be interesting.
your theory. I'm thoroughly convinced, and
Right.
let's
hope it falls through. I could hope.
It should.
Because I'm gonna be mad if it don't.
For real.
I mean, outside of the realms of that, I think, like you said, it's like, again, there's a lot of possibilities. We have, you said it was 6 episodes of this, so you know, at least it's nice to know that, again, we have a show that we're back to being grit towards. You know what I'm saying? It's back to us actually,
and it should.
Again, for those that are into the comic books, researching, creating the theories and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But for those that aren't into the comic books and just need like some type of show that's not overbearing and like what is this? It's nice to have that feeling to bring us back into, again, kind of like the streaming world again, and watching a show for the show that it is, not
outside
so much
outside of Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddlesworth is probably he's been the longest standing, one of the longest standing characters in the MCU since the beginning. It's always been probably like the most interesting. It's also note that the character of Loki in this series, even in the past episodes, the last season, Kang, when they went to the Citadel, episode 4 or 5, when he finally arrived and he was basically realizing that Eliath was a guard dog for the Citadel, and basically He Who Remains was behind the cloak the entire time. The only variant that was being held prisoner was all Lokis. He knows that the only person that could figure everything out, that could find out exactly what the problems are all Lokis. He was collecting them motherfuckers like fucking coins and shit. So there was nothing but Lokis before he got to the tower. So that's also interesting because it feels like the only person that can get close to stopping him has to be a Loki. Either it's Sylvie or it's this version. It's Tom.
I think I especially appreciate like what they've done, I guess, with Loki's character, like, from the beginning where he was just a villain, you know what I'm saying? He was just like a clever villain, but then you go into like, obviously the Thor series, and he was just kind of like there, you know what I'm saying? And then it's just like his evolution for me, speaks volumes. Like, I don't know, it's just, that's why I think I'm even more, I guess, really close with Tom playing Loki's character, but more or less like, again, the writers, like, for being able to cultivate and keep this story compelling for Loki, and how important of a piece he is into this whole saga.
No, big ups to them, because it has to be difficult to write something that's multiversal, has a lot of time jumps, it deals with time travel. It's like you said, when you watch the first episode for the first time, it's fucking confusing. And you got to do your homework. But when you do your homework and you come up with the theories that you have, and if the plot line is done correctly, it's going to start to make sense at some point in time. At the end of season 1, by episode 5, I was like, this shit is making real sense. And then when you finally realize that the big bad in episode 6 is who he is and exactly what could go down if you kill me, like, basically he was kind of like asking for it but not asking for it. He was like, I would just want you two to like take this over. And he was like, the reason that I called you here, like, basically he said he paved the road, is like, I want you two to run this,
right?
Keep this shit in line. But if you kill me, all hell gonna break loose. He was like, I'm tired. I'm tired. I can't hold this shit together. I'm old. So Sylvie made a dastardly fucking mistake. She fucked up the whole thing.
Yep.
And Loki now has to get to her before the TVA does, because I'm not sure exactly, because that end scene was very revealing, where basically Ouroboros gave him that plan of, once you get to a certain point, you got to prune yourself in order to get back to eliminate the time slipping. And then your true self will be the first thing to come back into the TVA, and you'll only be in one spot only. But who pruned him? He didn't have it. He dropped it before he got there. Who was on the phone? The phone was ringing before he showed up. He saw Sylvie there, but she was trying to get through like an elevator. So you don't know who was on the phone. You don't know who pruned him. But does that come out in episode 2?
No.
Damn.
Ah,
Nope.
That's fucked up. See?
so
This is where we at.
much.
This is
So
where we're at, man. Look, that's why I like Loki. The cliffhangers are all secrets.
So for me, and it's always going to be this. It's always going to be, as far as these Disney shows, these Disney Plus shows, it's always going to be WandaVision. It's always going to be, because they were the complete mind fucks that I watched week in and week out. Like, and those two, like, if I had to rank these shows, and I'm not going to go through a list, I'm just going to say I will put those two on a list by themselves.
Yes. Because
they are giving us something every week that we have to constantly watch every detail to.
Yes.
So, like that, I can't sit still and just, I can take, if I got to get up and go grab something out the kitchen real quick, like, I got to pause it. Like, I can't just let it go. Like, you can just get up.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I can miss 60 seconds. Or just let it run, try to listen to it in the background and come back. Like, you can't do that, because you have to pay attention with your eyes to look for clues, and then you have to listen to every word that is said.
Yeah.
Pay attention to every character, right? So, yeah, it's always going to be WandaVision, and it's always going to be Loki. That are, like, you just get the best out of these, like, those particular shows. Like, you get the best act, get the best plot points. Now, I think with WandaVision, outside of the last episode, but it tends to, I noticed that these Disney Plus shows, their last episodes are always like lackluster. So I get,
which I applauded why Loki was only 6.
Yeah, you can get the meat of it in like 6 episodes. It's almost like 2 movies basically.
That's it,
right? So in 6 episodes, we can get the gist of everything. WandaVision was like 9 episodes.
Yep.
So by the time we got to the last part, it was just like they kind of like rushed the ending, right? But outside of that, great show every week. Loki, we're now the second season running.
Yep.
Great, just great in almost all fields of this show. And we're going to continue to talk about this because I get a chance to watch the episode 2 for a second time. Like I already seen episode 1 twice. Right? Twice already. So now I get to see episode 2 for a second time, and I'm
take it all in,
trying to piece together like what's going on. You get a little, like, it's like you get closer to what's going on, but then you get hit with all these other questions.
Exactly.
That's
what I like about the show.
It's like taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back. You know what I'm saying? So you just got to pay attention, and everybody has to rewatch these episodes if you really want to try to like follow what's going on, because it's just very complicated. And it's by
me, myself, I look forward to, I think it's another 6 episodes. So we got another 5 going in. So it's always going to be a bunch of questions in the first 3. And then usually like the last 3, things start to get revealed piece by piece. So, but bro, awesome talk, gentlemen. Once again, Loki season 2 is now underway. And we hope and pray that this is a better understanding of what phase 5 will be. Because if the Kang variants all have knowledge of Loki and Sylvie, we can only understand that this is going to be an amazing season going forward. So for myself, Ralphie, Haas, Jorge, Party Nerds Podcast. We are out.
Party nerds, party nerds.